This is the planning domain that we work in. It's an area of about 900,000 hectares. If you want that in acres, you times by 2.4. And what we did at the beginning of lockdown is we collated all the science to do with this planning domain into a study called the Albany Biodiversity Corridor, which is basically the space between the Addo Elephant Park and the Great Fish River Reserve. And that's how we get the Addo to Fish vision that I want to just share some more detail with you now. So just to go down into a little bit more detail of this space, there are 5 river systems that flow through here. 3 of them are entirely encapsulated in this planning domain. As we sort of go a little bit closer, some figures on this domain: 80% of this area is considered natural, although partially degraded, and only 1% of this area is populated by human settlements. So we have an opportunity here to sort of get ahead of the human crush. I say that because many famous parts of Africa that have sort of last vestiges of wildlife left are completely surrounded now by humanity, and it's very difficult to see how solutions can be found without the sort of human pressure interfering with all of that. This is the Addo Elephant National Park. It also extends down into the ocean in several marine protected environment areas. So all of this conservation has taken place primarily over the last 25 years. 25 years ago, Addo was a fraction of its current size. Great Fish River Reserve was fragmented and has now been linked up. And so we have this opportunity through all of these stepping stones of conservation to find a way to link conservation and regenerate these very degraded ecosystems. These are the core biodiversity areas, the most biodiverse areas here. The red lines are suggested connectivity routes. And then as we design how we're going to do this, these are what we call landscapes. And landscapes are really sort of bite-sized chunks that we are beginning to work on in creating that connectivity. You can see we're looking at existing protected environments. We're also looking at river systems, and then we're looking at those biodiversity nodes and how we plan to link them up. This last one that you've just seen here is called the Bushman's River Landscape, and this final sort of large one here, just to give you some more stats, is an area of 260,000 hectares. 50% of that is already under protected environment. 75% of that is already under wildlife land use. So we really have the ingredients to make this thing happen. One of the key things we needed was to drive science and planning, not just for the environment, but also social science and economic science into the area. So what we did was we selected a property in the Bushman's River landscape, which I'm zooming down on now. This we call Tanglewood, and this is an example of sort of restoration in planning. Every yellow area here represents a different restoration recipe. We're doing this in conjunction with the Rhodes Restoration Research Unit. Landscape planning for this landscape involves mapping out who the potential stakeholders are. So every color here is a different farmer, and then beginning the process of bringing them into the landscape, which we're busy with now. And then really important, as we zoom back down into Tanglewood, this is the scientific hub of Tanglewood. This is an area that we've taken old dairies and farm buildings and we are in the process now of converting them into nurseries and accommodation for scientists and places where we can bring in vocational training in order to build up the skill sets to get this vision in motion. And we have already started planting trees. We have funding for our first 6,000 trees, and we'll just keep on growing that plan. We are collaborating, by the way, Armand, with the University of Stellenbosch through Dr. James Bluchnote, or I think Professor James Bluchnote, looking at regenerative mechanisms to restore soils, grasses, and also regenerative agriculture in the area too.